My new table saw arrives tomorrow, so I'm going to rearrange this area. Over in the back corner where the air compressor is, I'm going to get rid of that. I don't use the air compressor anymore. I now use the Ryobi blower, a little battery air pump for tyres and a paintbrush. So yeah, I just don't use it. Oh, and even my brad nailer is battery now, so yeah. So I'll sell the air compressor, move that out. I've also got a wood rat in the corner. I haven't used that for years, hardly ever used it when I had it. There's other jigs I prefer using, so I will get rid of the wood rat and we'll put the table saw, the new one, over in that corner. Then we'll have the MFT3 table and then the bandsaw at the end. And hopefully everything will be a lot simpler to get at, a little bit more space around each tool. So this is it, my new table saw. It's a Carbatec TS-C250H A, 2.2 kilowatt table saw. So just for interest's sake, when I opened the box and pulled out the instructions, notice that that's actually an Axminster 200387. So if you're in the UK, I guess you can get the same thing, if you want. Alright, let's take a look at it. So here's the specifications on the machine. You can see it's a 45-degree tilting blade, a maximum depth of cut at 90 degrees, or it says 0 here, 75 millimeters, and a cutting depth of 60 millimeters when tilted all the way. So there you go, that's the back of it. This one's got much better dust collection than my previous one. We've got the dust hose from the dust extractor there going into the back of the machine, and then we've got this other smaller hose which comes around and connects to the blade guard. It sucks up a bit of extra dust, and I am getting a lot less dust. I've only done a few test cuts with it so far, so I've only just put it up. But yeah, so it's a lot less dusty, which is very nice. At the front we've got the standard blade depth adjustment, and this time there's a locking lever. You can see that, I'm just spotlighting that now. You can see the lever behind that little knob. The little knob is the lock for the tilting arbor, but behind that the lever is a lock for the depth adjustment on the blade. So that's different. I had a little knob in the centre of the wheel before that never actually worked properly. So this seems to work nicely, which is very good. And of course over on the side here, in the background you can see the dust extractor, and in the foreground that's the wheel for adjusting the arbor, adjusting the tilt of the arbor I should say. On the rail, as seems to be standard nowadays, we've got a little magnified lens, a metric and imperial rail down, a metric and imperial scale on the rail. So there you go, you can you move that around and see where you're up to. It actually looks nice and clear on the camera, that's good. The plastic's slightly clouded and a little bit difficult to look through at certain angles, like it's a little bit scratched. I might try and give it a bit of a polish. But the camera seems to be ignoring that, it looks quite nice. Maybe I'll set it like this from now on. One thing I was really pleased with was the blade was square to the table on installation. I didn't have to adjust it. That was pretty good. I was expecting that to take some time, but no, I made up a little test jig in the miter slot, and front and back of the blade, same distance from the miter slot. So that's excellent. The fence also has this micro adjuster, which is basically a spring knob that you can push in that then engages a cog underneath, and you can see there's a cog that goes into a toothed rack. If we can get that to focus. Ah, here we go, that's a good way of doing it. You can see the toothed rack in the foreground here, and there's the cog in the background, and you push the knob in and the cog engages with that rack, and that allows you to move the fence by small increments, which is quite handy. Something else I was really pleased with and didn't expect was that the fence, when installed, was already square to the blade and square to the table. On installation I haven't had to make any adjustments. So this stuff's been pre-calibrated in the factory. I like it. So I've just squared the saw blade to the table, and then it's just a case of, pretty obvious really I suppose. Anyway, that's just a case of getting a square, a good square, and butting it up against the table and the blade and adjusting the tilt of the arbor until you can't see light between. Just be careful of the teeth, make sure you're on a flat portion of the blade. So there we go, and that's actually zeroed now. You can see there's no light through there. And then all I had to do is get tripod free here. From there it was just a case of adjusting this little plastic marker ever so slightly. So it was on zero from where I was looking at it. And it was the slightest adjustment. I didn't even need a screwdriver. I just tapped it a tiny bit with my finger. And so there we go. Everything's square and true and ready to be used. Let's test it out. I've only put a ripping blade on this, not a cross-cut blade or a combination blade. So it would be unfair to do a cutting test on it as a cross-cut. So I'm just going to do a few different rips and see how we come out. I've got a square around here somewhere. Where did I put the square? There it is. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I've got some different pieces of wood here. I've got some of that hardwood flooring. I've got a piece of what we call Oregon, for some reason pine, and some pine plywood. So I'll do a rip on each of those, see how it performs going through, see if it's square at the end. Here goes. And I think what we'll do as well is I'll set it for a specific width and we'll test how close we are with eyeballing the gauge. Let's go with circles out of the way. So I'm going to go with 80mm on this piece. Use my back. Got my fancy push stick that came with it and the push stick that I built. We're going to grab a feather board as well. There it is. And your little tool with old feather board that keeps the work pressed up against the fence. Always a plus. Alrighty. Let's go. Okay, after making 4 cuts, I can tell you, I love this blade and I love the table saw. It just rips right through here beautifully and quickly like a hot knife through butter. But I do not like this fence guard, this saw guard, which is such a shame because I like the dust extraction. But it's just, it doesn't lift for the wood. Oh no, see, that's what it is, it's getting stuck here. Might be able to fix that with a bit of sanding maybe. Something's got to be done. That's got to, yeah, that's catching on the clear acrylic underneath. Let me bring that round, just in case you ever end up getting one of these saws. It might be worth trimming this acrylic a little bit, because that's what's happening. This is supposed to lift up, but it's hitting that acrylic and stopping. And that's why it hit the blade before, because it pushed the whole thing sideways. Scared me too. Alrighty, let's check the square of the bits. Yeah, that's square all the way along. Yep, nice square cut, lovely. I should imagine that will be the same. Not a lot of teeth marks either, really. There's a bit of a ripple, but oh, there we go. You can see a little bit of a ripple from the teeth, but not much. It's quite nice. Alright, on the plywood, we've got a little bit of rake out. Well, there's our cuts, all the same height as expected, but are they 80mm? We dialed up, let's check. 80mm. 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 And 80mm. Alright. So yeah, the magnifier method on the table saw fence works well. I was used to an Incra before, so I was worried that perhaps this wouldn't be as accurate, but it seems to be quite accurate indeed, actually. The table saw also came with a miter gauge, which I won't be using much because, as I've mentioned, I'm mostly doing rib cuts, and I've got a rib cutting blade on this, so it won't be so good for miter cuts. But it also came with this little fella too, which I've still got the nuts on here, but the idea is you unscrew the nuts, put it through two holes on the side of the fence, here and here, like that. And if you're doing your cross cuts, you can butt it up against here first and slide in so you get your distance. Some people will tell you that when you're doing cross cuts on a table saw, it's not good to run them all the way along the fence the whole way, because they can bind at the back of the blade as you go past. Alright, so overall, what do I think so far? Very pleased with it. I think it's been a good purchase. I would like to have seen this packaged a little bit differently, so it came out a little bit clearer. Like I said, it's a little bit cloudy because it seems to be ever so slightly scratched. I might be able to polish it, but polishing it might make it worse, so I'm not too sure about that. And the way the fence grabbed the wood, sorry, not the fence, the way the blade guard is grabbing the wood, so that might have to come away, or at least be sanded back. Otherwise, very, very pleased. I've sanded over the edges of the blade guard and rounded them a bit here. So this is rounded over now, and rounded that way too a little bit. So let's see if we can push this through a little bit more easily. Let's start again. Let's try a thinner piece of plywood. No, you've got to lift it manually. I don't like that. Overall, I do really love the new Carbatec saw, but It's going to have to lose points for that blade guard, unfortunately. But, otherwise, very good. I hope that's been of some help if you're thinking of buying one. So, there you go. Bye-bye. Have a great day.